Welcome to Start Canada Podcast, where we interview startup founders, innovators, and thought leaders from the heart of Canada who are challenging the status quo, scaling their business, and bringing new ideas to life. Tune in with me, your host, Margot Miller, to hear firsthand exactly how they did it. Start Canada Podcast is powered by the Manitoba Technology Accelerator and Tech Manitoba and sponsored by Scotiabank. In the next episode, we speak with Felicita Ovadje, a practicing attorney and freelance makeup artist. With an eye for excellence, she identified a gap for products designed for people of color in the North American beauty industry. And she decided to be that change. Founded in 2014, Felicita launched Felicheeta Artistry, pivoting in 2020 to become both an e-commerce and a brick-and-mortar space for customers to find makeup brands owned by people of color and created for women of all skin tones. Felicita is passionate about the success of immigrants and persons of color, and she's focused on playing her part by creating a one-of-a-kind retail store, promoting BIPOC brands in a safe space. Her dream is to have a store in every city in North America. And when she's not running and promoting a retail brand or developing related educational programming, she continues her law career, having put a focus up front in her business plan to be able to do both successfully. In this episode, Felicita Ovadje speaks about the evolution of beauty products for people of color, about balancing her passions, and provides some great tips, both legal and otherwise, of things to consider when starting a business. If these topics call out to you, then don't miss this episode of Start Canada Podcast with the CEO and founder of Felicheeta Artistry. Felicita, welcome to Start Canada Podcast.
Hi. Hi. So happy to be here.
Well, we are so happy that you are here. And now I'm going to make you tell us right away the whole history of your business. No, but start at the beginning. Where did the business idea come from?
Wow. Like, to be honest, like every other person who has sat on this chair has said, it's just start. I loved getting people ready. As I said before we got on the air, I was your go-to girl. I just did it effortlessly. When people ask me for business ideas or what they can do, the first question I ask them is, what do you do effortlessly? What do you do when someone wakes you up and says, hey, I need to do this for me? You're like, yeah, I can do it.
Yeah. What is that thing that you kind of wake up passionate about and it's easy for you?
And for me, that was beauty. That was getting people ready. But then I realized that it tied into one of my love languages. That's acts of service.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that it wasn't really the makeup application. It was just the fact that I could make a change in someone's life. I could help someone. I could take someone from feeling like, oh, I don't feel good enough, to like, I am the finest thing that just came out. That God just created. And God was just, when he was making me, he was just pouring beauty. I'm more beauty, and stare. We're making her, she's going to be so beautiful. That's how I want everybody around me to always feel. So that was really where the business idea came from. It was just that passion, that drive to just make people see that we're unique, you're different, and the things you see about yourself that you're like, oh, everybody needs to have a bigger lip. You have a small lip, and there's a way we can work with that. And you can see that there's something there. So it was really that just joy and seeing people that came into my room at university look really good as they walked out. And that really that's where the joy came from.
Yeah, and it gives you that like immediate sense of gratification almost too, right? And you can feel your energy when you talk about it. And, I'm sitting here going, okay, I want 15 makeup tips from you, and maybe we'll have time in the end of the episode. But how do you go from being like really good at physically doing makeup, making people feel good, to turning that into something that also involves like retailing and distribution and a store? Because those are all like a slightly different skill set, of course, than physically being this artist that you were.
Yeah. So where I pivoted into retail and distribution was, once again, my need to help people, my want to make my community better. So I realized I had a lot of pro brands that I had pro memberships, but then working with them, I realized for certain clients, they worked great. And for certain clients, they didn't. So that was where the research and being a sociologist by first degree, my brain is just trained to start researching, start trying to figure out things. And then I came across a number of BIPOC brands, and I realized the things I was looking for, they had it in terms of buildability, pigmentation. For example, if I want to change my lip color, I don't need to like wipe it off. I can put another lip color on top of it and it will look really effortless. So those are things that people don't understand that you have to look out for when you're buying a product or when you choose to buy a product, is how is this product buildable? I've had like a full face of makeup like this, and all I needed to do was put on foundation again on top of it and redo a new look. And, my artists have been like, whoa, well, how did you change that so fast? But I'm like, it's because the product is buildable. So understanding, how does this product work? Is it buildable? Is it very dry? How can I make a product that is very dry, buildable? There are ways to do that. So it's just about, I noticed those gaps, and because of my training, and this is why I tell people, there's nothing like, even if you want to be a makeup artist, still get some kind of formal training, because what that formal training does, it makes your brain think a certain way. So you're able to look outside, travel, spend time traveling, spend time researching what's happening, because I think it's all that exposure, me growing up in Nigeria, moving to Canada, moving back to the UK, being around a lot of people that were very exposed to, I always say you don't have to be the smartest in the room, surround yourself with smart people, tap from their knowledge, just soak everything up, and then you now look like the smartest person. So it was all that really informed my knowledge and informed I always say you can't do things you cannot envision. So you have to see it for you to be able to dream it, for you to be able to think about it. So literally, because I had surrounded myself with people like that, because I had, just been in spaces where I've just been very informed, it's my memory, my eyesight, my insight, my dreams started like growing big, and I'm like, oh yeah, I could do this. And that's why I told you before, that's why I went to beauty school. I wanted to know what the industry is about. It wasn't just, oh yes, I wanted to learn. If you can afford it, even if you pay for it. If you cannot afford it, find someone like myself. If I am free, I am more than happy to give tips, tricks. We also have a partnership with MC College where I train now.
Wow.
So pretty much, and we're working on something where people can actually finance part of their kits with us. So there are schools that help, like, there's financing, but getting there, talk to the right people, because they'll be able to give you ideas. So honestly, I owe a lot of my ideas to the people around me, people I've come in contact with, people I've worked with, my clients. I started doing one-on-one coaching because a client told me that she will like that. And I remember I used to just teach her from my kit. And then she was like, no, why don't I give you money? Why don't you buy the products for me and then teach me with those products? So when you're not here, I can still practice with those products. So that's why my one-on-one coaching is structured the way it is structured. So I help clients shop. Before I open the brick and mortar, I help clients shop, and then I help clients shop, and then what I pretty much do is I'll teach them with those kits. So now with the brick and mortar, we just shop from the store and then we teach.
Yeah, within one space, and you can teach right there. Yeah. So it's such an evolution that just happened naturally. But I think you made a few points in there about like really listening to what your customers are telling you. And sometimes they're going to have really good ideas that you can grow with if you're ready and willing to kind of make that move, right? And grow with it. So did you, you're talking about surrounding yourself with kind of great people that lift you up. Do you feel like you always had that in you? Like, was that something your family distilled in you to just really go for it?
Well, I would say yes. Part of it. I grew up with a bunch of overachievers.
Okay.
I would tell you that. But I think one of the things that my mother and my father always said to me growing up is define who you want to be. And those kind of people will attract, like you naturally attract those kind of people. So you need to find out like what value am I giving to the people around me and what value are they giving to me. And you have to be very intentional about your life. Where are you going to? Why are you doing what you're doing? Don't just do it because the crowd is doing it. Everybody's wearing red lipstick. Now I want to wear red lipstick. No, I want to wear red lipstick because I found a red lipstick I really like. Or I'm wearing red lipstick because I'm going for a corporate event and I think it will work for that event. Remember, I said to before we go on set, I said I had my birthday every year, but and my sisters never did because they couldn't care less. But because my dad will make you write him a letter 2 weeks in advance, and you will tell him why you should have your birthday and all the things you need. So I want a party pack. I want a cake. This is the size I want. I want a party pack. And the party pack needs to have a doll, a little flute, a pencil.
Yeah.
He wants to know, even though he's still going. So my sisters were like, I'm not doing this work, But me, I think I was just that child, like, well, you want me to jump high and low to get my birthday every year? Yes. So 2 weeks before my birthday, I will write my list. I write my why, what I've done the last year that I deserve a birthday. But, my younger brother lives with me now, my little brother. And I was complaining to my dad one time and he said, the tasks I made you do, I didn't just make you do it because I just wanted to be a difficult parent. It's because I wanted you to learn how to start thinking on your own and doing things for yourself.
Wow.
All those little things of, oh, I want this. No, okay, tell me why you want it.
At least explaining why even, right? The merit of the things that we own and why, yeah.
And he's like, it doesn't have to be a grand letter. Just tell me one thing you did and everything that you want in your party pack. That's all. A little letter signed, love, that. And when he said that to me, I was like, wow. And then it changed the way I started walking and helping my brother grow into the young man he's become now, or he's becoming. But that really took me aback. Like, I was like, wow, I didn't know that those were life skills he was teaching me during that time. So
it's amazing sometimes the wisdom of our parents that they are instilling in us without us kind of even realizing, right? I think that's such a good story from your dad. So now you come here today and like clearly you're someone where family is important, where all these relationships that kind of brought you to where you are. How are you balancing now the human aspects of running a business with like the, legal and operational and logistical side of running, a full store now, e-commerce platform? You carry, how many brands do you carry?
We carry 10.
Okay, 10 different brands, which means relationships that people are expecting something from you in return. How do you find the balance between all of that in your life?
I think it's about setting up systems and being realistic with everyone. So I'm very, very, I want to believe that I come up very genuine with people that I work with. And I'm very upfront and I'm very honest. I try to be very honest with them, both my clients. I try to be very realistic with them. But I'm also someone that I always tell people, keep your word. So there are times where I've only had 2 hours of sleep, but because I have told someone, I will do this for you, I will get this done for you. And because I've given my word, I don't want to go back on my word. I don't want to say, it didn't work, or I'm not available. If I give you my word, I try. If I cannot, I will let you know ahead of time. Like, hi, I told you I'm going to send you something at 6 o'clock. I'm so sorry if something came up. It's not happening. I will send it to you by Monday or Tuesday, or, I find that when you let people know exactly where you are at and you are not making them try and figure out whatever is in your head, it actually makes it, like, I see that works for me with my clients, with the people that I work with, like my staff. When I'm sad, they know. When I'm happy, they know. When I need a break, they know. And I've been very blessed to have people that kind of feed off the same energy with me. Like, if I don't like something, 2 days ago, we were not posting on social media and I was like, I don't like the feed. I don't think I like the feed. I think we're off. We've lost something. There's something just off. And then I was about to talk to my staff about it, like my full time. And she was like, yeah, I was going to talk to you about it today. I don't know. I don't like the feed.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm like, yeah, we're on the same frequency.
That's really good. Yeah. Sometimes I think when people think of running a business and being kind of that person in charge, I think they think about having to separate their kind of full emotions and showing everything they're feeling with their team. You kind of are approaching it from a different angle. Do you feel like sometimes it's too much or it's wrong or it's just really worked for you to be that way, to really show, how you're feeling about things?
One thing my older sister used to say, I'm the youngest girl, used to say to me is, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Right? And I used to be very, I would say things and I'm like, why are you getting angry? I just said it. And my sister's like, no, it's how you're saying it. How is it coming across? So I know that if I'm in a space where I'm going to say something that is maybe not going to come across good to you, I'll prefer to be quiet, and just like grind my teeth until I can put myself in a place where I can find the right word. That doesn't mean that I've been able to perfect it, but it's a skill that I'm constantly working on. So I've set up systems in place that helps. And I'll give you an example for anyone listening that is trying to figure out what kind of structure. Like our online store is synced with our physical store. So our inventory is like if someone wants to buy something in the store, it syncs with the online store. So that cuts out the need to go and count inventory online, count inventory in store. No,
Right.
it kind of eliminates that process. And we thank God we're in the digital age now, where there's a lot of apps, there's a lot of things that have just really helped. Once again, as I say, as I surround myself with really smart people, I have a friend who is a project manager. So when we're doing this, she was like, what do you need? Do you need to put systems in place? So we came up with the policies, the procedures. So once you start with us, you have, we log you into Teams. So I use Teams. And then I have like all my staff manuals. So I have everything in there. Like there's nothing that you're going to ask me that is not in the manual. And if I realize it's not, if you ask me a question, I realize I don't have it in the manual, then I'm like, okay, we need to come up with this. And one thing I do with my staff and my team and even my vendors is, this is not working. What do you think? How can we do it? But one thing I learned, and one important thing I'm going to say here today is, I lost my mom at 15. She's a crucial part that, she's a very crucial part of my life that drives me. And the reason why is, she had her clinic. She was an eye doctor. She was involved in Rotary, in the Lions, in she was like the children's pastor, like the pastor of the children's church, like the head of it. She had all these things going on, but immediately she died, all those things ended. She had an amazing legacy. Well, she produced myself and my sisters, so amazing. But I noticed that my dad struggled to keep her clinic running, but the brain box died. The blueprint, the business plan was never translated from her head to paper. So that thing that stuck with me for so long. So when I started my business, I knew that whatever I was going to do, I wanted to put it on paper. So every time we make a plan, or every time we set up a structure, the first thing I want to do, I say to the team, is create a document on Teams, name it this, and start putting in even the job descriptions, even what they are working on, their roles. We need to document it, because we want the day you tell me you want to leave, I want the next person who steps into your shoes to be able to say, okay, this is how it works. This is what I should be looking at. This is what I should be doing. And there is a document that actually helps them. They can tweak it to how they want to work on it, how they want to execute it. But there's a blueprint that helps them glide into that role with ease, know what's expected of them. So we have a brand Bible. We have a brand voice. So people know if you're working with social media or you're doing anything on my social media, you're not allowed to curse. You're not allowed to do certain things. You're not allowed to speak in a certain way just because of the tone of Effie. Effie is very calm. She is fun. She is welcoming. She's that person that you just want to hug and you want to have so much fun in Effie. When you come,
Is that you? Because that sounds like a lot of your qualities, certainly.
so yeah, I wanted a lot of my qualities to be translated to Effie. So literally that's what has been put into a brand voice. So anybody that says, oh, we're going to do branding for you, we send you our brand Bible, we send you our brand voice, we tell you our brand tone. So you know I'm not going to be putting, or I'm not going to be anything that is derogatory, something that is offensive. No, it's not going to go on our feed just because that's not our tone, that's not our voice, and that doesn't speak well with the brand.
And that the story that you just shared too of your mom before we kind of move on is so beautiful, how you took something from that and you really genuinely you noticed a change that she was able to make, but you wanted to make sure that when you made yours, it had that lasting legacy. And I think it's just really beautiful. So thank you for having shared that. And it's amazing what you took from that experience in such a positive way. So I'm really happy that you shared that. And to your point about the brand side of things, good job, because I think so often when people are starting a business, they kind of forget to really put down what's in their head on paper so that people can help them in the best way possible. So the tip you just gave for people listening is a brilliant one. And we've had a few other guests on the show that have detailed that, and their businesses have really been successful because of that. One really good example is Cole and Canary, who have this beautiful candle business locally that has grown, across the world. She does this exact same thing that you've just described. So if people want, more examples of reasons why you should do this, there's some great brands out there that we're matching here that are all doing the same thing, which is really clearly defining who your voice is, who your customer is. And then everyone around you is also very clear on that, right?
It's very, very, very important. I know people say, oh, when I see your post, I know. Even the way I do makeup, funny enough, I've trained someone else and I think the person posted a picture of what they had done. And someone says to me, when I saw that picture, I knew it was an FA picture. I wasn't sure what it was. What I knew, I was like, no, actually, that was my assistant that did that look. And it's there was just something about it. And I guess the way I do my brows.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I always tell people, your brows shape your face. If you draw them too close, they make your forehead look too narrow. If you draw them too wide, they make your forehead look flat. So I'm dropping some tips. So when you're doing your brows, and when you start looking at people now, you're going to see it. When the person, because your eyes are drawn to.
Now I'm self-conscious of my eyebrows.
But as humans, our eyes are drawn to lines, right? Lines and shadows. So that's how, makeup artists are able to, make cartoon characters and because they understand the lines and shadows, right? Of where to place them and change the person's face.
Yeah. Oh, this is fun. I want a million makeup tips from you. We're going to get off topic here very quickly. Okay. Felicita, tell me now a little bit, when you started this business, and we said this kind of in our intro today, that a big part of what you wanted to focus on was BIPOC brands or carrying brands only from people of color. And that was a point that you had made when you started your business. Speak to me a little bit about that decision and kind of what you needed to do to take that into account.
So, I guess this comes from my legal background of always looking for ways to that social, I won't say social justice, but, where you're looking at the gaps in society. So I noticed that there were a couple of BIPOC brands, but then I could have just opened a retail store and I could have just said, oh yeah, I'm carrying brands from different places, plus some BIPOC brands.
Right.
But then I also realized that a lot of BIPOC beauty entrepreneurs were not really getting into the big spaces. Now, I asked myself, if I wanted to develop a product, how will I want that product to be showcased? So I was looking around me and I was seeing that a lot of people were getting their products into some spaces, but the spaces were not really where certain people want to go. Mm-hmm. Right? So
right, you're saying they weren't getting into the Sephora in the mall where it was obvious and where many shoppers were going frequently. Yeah.
So it wasn't getting into such spaces. It was just getting into oh yeah, I'm gonna sell from my house, Or, I have an online store too. Let me just carry some of your products, or like a pop-up shop. But they were not really getting into the big name places. So I was like, okay. At the end of the day, when you look at Sephora, you look at Ulta, you look at all these places, they have 500 brands. So they're already like, how much can they really take? How much can they really take? You have to think about them too. Not that they don't want to take this brand, but they already have 500 brands on there, or 500 and more. Like the last time I think I checked, it was about 500 brands. So yeah, so they might be to capacity. So not that they don't want to take, but where is the capacity to really take? Because I don't know what their financials look like. I don't know what's happening there. So for me, there was a need for more spaces to open up. It's not just, there's Sephora, there's Ulta, there's Shoppers, where else? So that was where the idea came from. Then I realized that it was when I started the journey that I realized the major impacts that it had on people of color. So I was like, yeah, I just want to give them a platform, a nice space to really showcase their products inside a mall. I knew from the get-go that I wanted a mall space. Even there were times where I was like, yeah, I'll look for like the strip malls. Let me look for a space there. But one way or the other, I still found my way back to actually going to a proper shopping center, because that was where the idea and the vision was.
Right.
And then during the pandemic, so a lot of BIPOC brands that we purchased from, we were getting served, or people were getting served in Canada, but some of these places, they were not getting served. So how were they paying their staff? A lot of people had to, shut their doors. And it was at that time that we're paying for our inventory. So I was like, we're playing our part to sustain some businesses at this point, because we're helping them now branch out to other parts of the world that would have never known about their products. So that was where it really hit me that we're creating jobs. We're helping the black dollar circulate within the BIPOC community. That was where it really, really hit me that this is an opportunity to give people jobs. This is an opportunity to expand the revenue for this company. This is an opportunity to even train people, Caucasian artists, people that struggle working on dark skin tone. This is an opportunity to give them products that actually will work. So that was where the ideas came from. And I was like, oh my God, when you have an aha moment.
Yeah.
And then I got a little bit overwhelmed because I was like, this is more than me. I don't know any other entrepreneur that has some insight into what you're doing, and you realize all the different opportunities that could happen, and you get overwhelmed that, am I sure I can do this? Now, if you're listening to me, just know that you can. The support will be there, and take it one day at a time. But when you get overwhelmed, when you see all the ideas, when you see all the opportunities, that is God telling you. I'm very spiritual. That is God telling you, open your eyes, my child, and this is for you. So that was literally...
It's that identifiable light bulb moment, as cliche as that is, right? You just knew that this was something that there was a gap in the market. It was so obvious to you. And listening to you and thinking about the market and thinking of where I've shopped for makeup, it does seem so obvious that there was a missing physical store in malls meant to carry brands that are for absolutely everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was just and then just giving them that distribution opportunity.
Yes.
It's not something, as I said, someone like myself might not get into Sephora, might not, literally, I'm maybe going to be on 1,000, the applicant list of on 1,001.
Right.
Because, it's about connections, about relationships.
Right.
Understand that.
Yeah.
You had mentioned something earlier to me about how do I manage all these relationships. One of the things I've learned in my life is the value of relationships. It's so instrumental. Relationships are everything. And I think the last person you interviewed, that I watched her interview, she said the same thing, and I resonated with that. It's about relationship. Invest time in people. invest time in. I don't think because that person is nobody today, that doesn't mean tables can turn. I have been in a position where our house burnt down growing up, and we had to pretty much go into the market and, buy bathing items from scratch. Like our house burnt down and we had nothing, and we're starting from scratch, like in terms of buying items for ourselves. So I've been in that position where I've had a lot, lost everything, had gotten back up, kind of lost everything. So I've understood that I don't take anybody for granted. Whether you are someone dealing with an addiction, whether you're someone who has made it, I treat you the same. You walk into my the store, and I always tell our staff, respect everybody. Someone that is buying something that is $20, someone that is buying something that is 300, we will give you the same service. I do not care. It's about the person that I'm dealing with and the respect I have for that person.
And it's such sage advice because you just never know who that person is or what situation they're in and who they might become one day, to your point. Like, there's personal value, but it's also just respecting the human being. Give me an example of a type of brand that you carry, because you made some good points in there about like giving opportunities to brands that otherwise like may not make it into some of the big retailers. So what is an example of a brand, if you want to name one, that you carry, and where did they start? Like, do you know the story? I'm sure you know the story because this is your focus. Give me the story of one or two of the brands, whatever you want to mention, so that we get a sense of like, where are these brands coming from? Who are the people behind them?
Okay, so man, it's like a history house.
Yeah,
but
that's okay.
Okay, so we have about 4 Nigerian owned brands.
And you're from Nigeria, just for those listening. Yeah,
it was kind of easy to start with those brands. Now I'm not going to focus on the bigger brands just because one of them, Harvard, has done a case study on her.
Okay.
Funny enough, we shared the same birthday, and she was really the one who inspired me. So,
oh, wow.
She.
Well, and we're going to link to your website and all your products so people will be able to find them all. Give us like one story. It's hard to pick. We know you love all your brands. If your brands are listening, she loves you all.
But I'll start with the smaller brands. Because those are the ones that if they had to get in, it might be harder for them to get in.
Yeah.
I will start with one of our local brands here, Dark Sugar. And I'm actually I installed my wig. So this is not my hair, guys.
Oh my God. You always have great, I think it looks amazing. I would never know.
So yeah, so she has a styling kit on our website on how to pretty much install the whole thing. This is like a cow.
Okay, we're gonna have to link to that too. We'll share it all.
But, her story is she was a student who found ways to start making hair, start selling products, and start once again doing one of the things I do is just make people feel beautiful. And she was able to pay part of her tuition with whatever she made. And she's like my younger sister. And even though she doesn't have the resources to get into a space like, the big stores, just giving her, I remember she didn't know that she'll be in the store. So I did the sign, and then I brought her in and I told her to just bring some of her stuff to put and showcase, and that I'll buy some of her lashes. And when she came in and she saw the sign, she was just like crying.
Oh.
And just knowing her story of, what she would do is she'll put out like, oh, I have this products to sell. And then people will place their orders. She will use part of the order money to buy the products and then sell, and then use her profit to put back into buying the product. So that was how she really started. And that was her story of, just saying, yeah, I have this to sell. And then she will, when people place the order, then she takes the money, buys the product in a smaller quantity, and then sells, and maybe buy a little bit of extra to be able to have some more products on hand. And that was really how she started. And I'm so excited for her growth. And I know her seeing herself in the store, she's like, I can't believe this.
It's such a good story, the people that you're supporting right at the same time as growing this business of your own, and you're supporting each other to some degree. It's so good. I think that people listening can't help but want to, run out and try some of these products and support local and support people of color starting amazing businesses that may not have the same opportunity. So it's wonderful what you're doing. And at this point, I'm going to get us into our speed round. I'm loving this conversation, but we have to stop our episode and do our speed round. So, okay, you know the drill. Just answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay, Felicita? Okay, describe yourself in a word or two.
Happy and content.
What motivates you?
Growth.
What keeps you up at night?
Growth.
Who's been the person in your life that's motivated you the most?
My mother.
What is the one thing in business that you're so happy you did?
Talk to people that are smarter than myself.
What is something that's really important for your mental health?
Play.
I like that. What's one thing that you were wrong about?
Didn't pay attention to marketing.
How do you continue to learn and grow? What do you do?
I made a pact with myself that I must learn something new every year.
Yes, I love that. Where are you in 10 years with all these new skills you've learned?
10 years. Goal number 1, have multiple stores around Canada and maybe the US. Goal number 2, I'm hoping, I actually want to be the first Black judge.
Wow. That's our speed round. Okay, so you can relax. But those are 2 really big goals at the same time. And I'm loving that you have what you've achieved so far. So for those listening that didn't quite catch everything in the original bio there, she's passed the bar, practicing lawyer, does this successfully while at the same time opening a physical store, an e-commerce store, carrying a variety of brands, helping other people raise up their businesses. And the goal is to be a Black judge in Canada, as well as, is that what you said? The first?
There has already been a Black judge.
A female.
I don't know if there's anyone in Manitoba yet. So.
Manitoba. Okay, so first female Black judge in Manitoba. Or maybe not first, we'll do the research, but one of. Very rare, amazing goal. And the other goal, stores all across the country.
I don't think there's a Black judge in Manitoba yet.
Okay, we're going to do it. I believe in you.
I spoke to speaking to my mentor when we had the business meeting. And
I love the energy that you feel from you too with these goals. Like I really believe that we're going to see you like in no time in both of these things. But how are you keeping, like genuinely, how are you keeping that balance? And I know offline you mentioned to me a little bit about putting it in the business plan up front, that you intend to do both things well. And I think a lot of times when we start like side businesses, we think I could grow this into something one day. And it kind of feels like an either or with our current careers. How did you work that in and genuinely plan to do both successfully?
The first problem I have with the idea of, I have a problem with side business. What's the side business? Why are you calling it a side business?
Yeah, okay.
When you term something, you define it. Everything has when you give something a name, that name defines it. My name means happy. Felicheeta means happy.
Wow. And that was the word you used to describe yourself.
A happy place. And that's I'm leaving. And that was why I took on that name. Remember, when I spoke to you earlier, I said my middle name is Tega. Tega means praise and but I have a good voice. But I took on Felicita because that was my first name. And I grew, every time I remember, your name is happy. There's nothing that can make me upset. Anything that's going to make me upset, trust me, tell me a reason why I should be upset. And I'll tell you why that situation will make me happy.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, I would give me anything.
No, I don't want it.
Someone can give me anything and I'll tell you why that situation why I will find a lesson,
Yes.
something that will make my life better. From when I talk about my mom's death, yes, people could say, oh yeah, you lost your mom at 15, blah, blah, blah. I can tell you all the things that I learned in my life that I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I feel maybe it happened for a reason. God wanted me to grow up. God wanted me to march up. God wanted me to look at life in a different way. So I find there's always a reason to be grateful for in every situation. And that's really, I stay true to my name. So that question of side hustle, when you say it's a side hustle, you've already put it to the corner. So what happens is your main career, you're prioritizing that for 10 hours in a day or 8 hours in a day. And then you're only leaving, it's a side hustle. So I work on it whenever I have time. When you have your mindset like that, then that will remain a side hustle. When you say these are two goals that are important to me, you will make it work, because I'm like, okay, Monday, I always say I work extra hours on Monday on my law practice. So I can put in a 14-hour or a 12-hour shift at work, because I need to this is a career I'm building. I don't want to make mistakes. I want to limit my mistakes. I want to learn. I want to develop my practice. I want to keep growing and learning. Now, my Fridays, I'm not the only reason why I was being a lawyer yesterday and also at the store was because of there was a immigration conference. So I wanted to listen in and listen to what the conference was going on. But my Fridays are like, you know what? I'm going to dedicate a Friday to being at the store, helping the girls, because the girls have told me they want me to be around them a little bit more.
To learn from you and to,
So I'm like, okay, Fridays is the day where all of us are together, right? So for me, it's not a side hustle. There are two businesses that I'm very passionate about, and I'm going to treat both of them with ultimate respect.
What if someone has a side business that is really only like 10, 20% of their time? Then is it still a narrative that you would say to them, don't call it a side business? Like, just call it, I have a business, it's new, or it's small, or it's growing, or use that kind of terminology instead, because it'll really change kind of the mindset that you have about it?
I always say, look, call your business what you see it in 10 years. Don't say, I have and I was very fond of that. I used to always do, And my friend flew down from Calgary and she came and she said, what? This is what the store looks like? Why are you downplaying it?
Like, it's amazing, yeah.
And I was very guilty of that. And a lot of small business owners are very guilty of that. You have an amazing idea. You have so much potential and you just come and say, I have this small business. No. I have a business, I manufacture this, I produce this, or I sell this, and this is where we're going. Do you want to try it? And you're going to see your business grow. Because people are not, once you tell someone I have a side business, it's our the unconscious bias that's going to be like, it's something small, okay.
Right.
I'll support it whenever I can. Because that's like, if you think about the people that you've helped.
Even your customers, yeah.
Even like the businesses that you focus or you channel your energy on, like if they tell you side business, to them, like when someone tells me it's side business, I'm okay, don't worry, let me know. And then
you wonder how much time they're investing in their own business too. And they might be investing a ton of time, but as soon as they use the terminology
side business, I'm like, okay. And then when I'm thinking about maybe doing, for example, you sold jewelry now, and then I have a client I want to sell, you're not going to come to your business is not going to be on top of my list.
Right.
I'm going to be looking for someone that does their business full-time, not full-time, but takes their business very serious and talks very highly of their business. I'm like, I know this person.
Yeah.
You think about it.
So for you, kind of from the distributor side, the retailer side even, you're looking at that as well when you're considering who to potentially carry your work with. Yeah.
Because I want my people to order products and I want them to get it ASAP.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to work with someone that cannot deliver.
Right.
The same level of...
I mean, you have to watch your business and expectations at the same time, right? And the way you promise as far as deliverables to your customers. Yeah. Wow, that's so interesting and such an important way to look at it. I want to talk specifically too about the store that you opened and that we're kind of referencing here, because You opened a physical brick and mortar store during the pandemic that people would need to kind of come into to try products. And that makes sense, like the physical ability to use testers and try a product. But I think a lot of people would think, why didn't you just go to e-commerce? What a tricky time. Weren't you worried about losing money? Can you speak to that a little bit for those listening and just explain like the logic and whether that has been successful for you to have made that decision to open a physical store?
Oh yeah. When you need to understand your business model. I was working with brands that people have never heard of. As much as some of our brands are very popular with high following and high distribution in other African countries, they don't have a presence in Canada. So this was literally their first time here. They have people who are aware of them that maybe relocated from back home and are here. But in terms of an actual proper presence, they are not the Max. They are not in Sephora. They are not places. A lot of people don't know them like that, but they are good. So I knew that doing an online store, I will only attract people that already know them.
Right.
Or I will have to invest heavily in influencer marketing. Now, having a space is very good for me. I just realized, I need to have some type of physical presence where people can come and see and feel. And if you saw, for example, if you saw a lipstick online, you don't know what it looks like. You're not sure if when you order it, you're going to feel the same way about it. Or you might see something, you have very high expectations because of the way it looks or experience online. It comes to your doorstep and you're like, what is this? So for me, it was very important to have a space. Now, my mindset is the pandemic has happened. What are we going to do about it? One of the biggest skills anybody, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, is to learn how to adapt. This is a new virus. We don't know what's next virus that is going to surface. Now, we need to understand that the world is still going to go on. And that was my mindset. I'm like, I could either do two things. I could either sit down and eat some popcorn and have a pity party in my house and say, oh, I've written this 40-page business plan. I've invested in so much time. I've talked to so much people. I've harassed so much people to help me. And, there's a pandemic and stop. Mm-hmm. Or I can just say, God, I always kind of bully God and I say, you brought me this far. You're going to put me to shame. And you gave me this idea. Because don't think that an idea just pops into your head from, there's something, whatever belief system you have, there's something that is guiding you. Mm-hmm. And something has put that idea. So explore it. I'm like, I had this idea, I explored it. I saw the beauty of it. So you will help me. And you'll give me the insights. And I just trusted my gut and said, you know what? The world is not going to stop. The world's going to open up. So I'm going to go with that. And that was what really kept me going. And that's what keeps me going every day. And every day I meet new people that I just find out about our brand. And they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is amazing. I'm excited. Once the restrictions are out of the way, I really want to come in and I want you to either do my makeup or swatch my face or, people are really excited about it. So
you're going to have a lineup once the allowances are all open. Yeah.
But you can still come in now. It's just that it's a few people at a time. Yep. But once again, let's think about it. The good in everything. You are having personalized one-on-one service.
Yeah, seriously.
Only you with the staff. And there's nobody asking, what's the price of this? Can you hear? Nobody is undivided attention. So let's look at the good in that.
Yeah, that's right. I find so much joy in speaking to you, Felicita, because you use the word beauty just now. And I feel like it's just, you have a beautiful energy resonating from you. And it's so fun to hear you talk about this. And I think people listening, it's like, listen to this episode when you're like walking outside in the woods or like when you have a really calm environment, because so much of what you said, you can just feel the energy from you. And the tips in here, I think if you're struggling with your business right now, or if you're thinking of starting something, like follow everything that we've been talking about in this episode, because Felicita has some great advice. On that vein of advice, you do, of course, have, your legal background and all this experience behind you now of everything we just described. If you were to talk to someone and they were to come to you to say, okay, I'm starting a business. Like, what do I need to know? Where do I need to go? What are your typical tips? Like, what direction do you point people in at this point?
I would tell you, get a pen and paper and start writing everything that comes to your head. It doesn't have to make sense.
Okay.
Just start writing. Right? Start doing your research. I have younger girls who come to me like, I like what you're doing. I want to open my own space. And they start telling me, I want the blue color, I want the red color. And I said, no, that's not where you start from. You don't start from the blue and the red color. You start from just writing your thoughts down. So envision what you want. Just write. It's just the way like people journal.
Yeah.
Just write.
Like a free flow kind of. Yeah.
Just write. Just put all that on paper. I would say one thing. You asked me how I thought about the business and I thought about the idea and all whatnot. I remember, like maybe a year or two, or the year before I got called. No, maybe 2 years before I got called. I found an old business plan that I had written, and that business plan had that I was going to be a freelance artist and I was going to open a retail store within 4 years of launching it. I had forgotten about that plan, but I wrote it down. I forgot about it, but I was unconsciously working towards it.
Wow.
That's the beautiful thing about writing plans. And I think someone had messaged me to send them a business plan. So I said, yeah, I've written a couple business plans. So let me look up one of my old stash. And then I found that. And actually the name of that was like Tiger Lily Creation or something weird like that. But
you were really creative at that time in your mind. Yeah.
But yeah, so what I would tell any new entrepreneur, anybody that wants to go down that route, is just write. It might evolve, it might change, but guess what? There's something that is at the core of that business of what you are writing that will never change. Yeah, and for us is community building.
That's really wonderful. And speaking of community, you also did use some community resources, and you kind of mentioned this earlier on. Like once you start, there will be people and places to go to kind of get help. I know you've leveraged like Futurepreneur, which is a great organization across Canada. We've actually had someone from there on the show, so if people want to learn more, they can check out that episode. But also the Women Enterprise Center. Tell me a little bit about those resources, and like at what point would you tell someone go reach out to one of those type of resources?
It depends on what as I said, start writing.
Yeah.
And then when you feel like you have an idea or you have a better picture of what you're writing about, or even if you're struggling, some of these resources, like No Futurepreneur, they have like a business plan writer. So they can prompt you, they can give you questions.
Yeah, like a template.
It's and questions to juggle your mind. But at least before you get to that point of asking for a business plan writer, you already have your ideas written down. You already have, if I came to you and I said, I have this business and I'm not sure, but I think, and then I think, and then I think.
Right. I would probably say, come back to me once you have more thought out. Yeah.
Right. But if I came to you and I said, I have this business plan, I want to produce jewelry. Like, I think I'd be like your jewelry. So I'm using that as the example. Yeah. But I want to produce jewelry. I realized that, I go to some jewelry stores and they're missing this element and I really like it. And this is some of my sketches and that. Then I know that, okay, this person has thought through. Because one thing people always think about is investments comes in form of cash. And that's one major tip that I want to tell people, that investment doesn't come in form of only cash. Investment also comes in form of people's time. If you want me to sit down with you, I need to see that you have invested in yourself.
Right.
So now I will invest my time. So instead of me working on my business, I'm going to take 2 hours that I work on my business and invest it in you.
Yeah. So prove to me that my time is being used wisely.
Yeah. I want to do so. And the same thing is going to go with Futurepreneur, BDC, any place, even the mall. I remember when we approached them and I spoke to them and she was like, oh, okay, we can set up a meeting. I'm like, okay, yeah. Do you want me to send my business plan? And for her, it was foreign.
Wow.
because she's like, a lot of small businesses that approach her to say they want to find like a small space, the mall, they don't have business plans.
She typically has to do a lot of the work to kind of guide them to where they need to be. Yeah.
But for her, she was like, oh, I was reading that night and I was like, she's like, you have data, you have stats, because we also leverage resources from Trade Center.
Right. Yes, they can do a market analysis for you.
Yeah. And then you want to know the demographics in cities where is central,
right?
Where the population.
If you're saying that you're selling to women between the ages of 25 and 45, how many of them do we have in our city or province that you could actually sell to? Yeah.
Where they're located. And that's where the Trade Center will help you. So, I had all that stats, and that was stuff that I learned from Futurepreneurs. So
that's great.
Yeah. So,
and we'll link to a few of those too, so that people can kind of see that. Now we have a tiny bit of time left, and you brought me some amazing treats and gifts today, and we want to do a little tip. So we're going to try and do this verbally and visually at the same time for those listening podcast versus video. So I have here a sheer tint powder. And the reason that you're sharing this with me is because I was talking about makeup rubbing on my mask. Now, you're going to tell me what I would do with this.
So the sheer tint powder, so I'm not going to sound like a sales agent.
Right.
I'm going to make this real quick. So pretty much everybody knows what the translucent powder is that comes in the big, what do you call it, containers.
Right.
So pretty much that was a sheer tint.
Right, it's not pigmented. This is not going to affect my makeup color.
Yeah. It's just a translucent powder. So it comes in this little stash here. And we're talking about masks. And we're talking about, having your lipstick. And a lot of people are like, I don't want to buy lipsticks anymore. But I'm like, no, there's no need to throw away your lipsticks. You have your lipstick, and I already have like a liquid lipstick on right now, so it's like a lip stain.
Okay, yeah, mine's kind of like the same, yeah.
Lipstick, right? But yeah, we know that the liquid lipsticks will dry, and they're meant to dry matte. But
right.
Then you want to also control the transfer to your mask. So what I will always do is just have a brush. So I used this already this morning, so that way you see some product on it. And one of the things I was talking about this brush that I love is that the brush has helped you for makeup beginners. There's a little marking or like the design,
like an indent on it. Yeah, I commented on that. I thought that was really great.
Brush. It helps you know where to put your hand.
Yeah.
So you just take a little blending brush. If you don't know what the blending brush looks like, it's a brush that all the hair fibers go upwards. They look upwards. So if you go to a store and you look for a blending brush, everything looks like it's going upwards.
Okay.
And what I'm just going to do is get my little blending brush, and I just put a little bit of the powder on it, and I go over my lipstick.
Oh my God, I've never put powder on my lips before. Okay, Felicita, so this is a first for me.
Yeah. And then what that does is that it soaks up the liquid.
Okay, so just as a reminder, this is a tip so that when you're wearing a mask, you're not going to get any lipstick on your mask. And I'm really excited about this because literally, as Felicita came into studio, I was wearing a mask and telling her that I needed to take it off so I didn't wreck my lipstick.
Yeah.
So here we are.
So
amazing.
And then you can just you can continue looking at your lip. And that's what I like. Like, this is so portable. Like, throw it into your bag.
Yeah, there's a really good mirror on this too. So we're going to link to this in our show notes as well. Felicita, so much fun, so much positive energy and great tips. And that is our show for today.
No.
So I know we could do so many more. We're going to have to do just a makeup tutorial video another day. You can teach me for the studio what to do. But for today, thank you so much for being on the show.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure.
My pleasure. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to learn more about our guests, visit startpodcast.ca and be sure to rate and review us wherever you're listening. If you're new to the show and want more Canadian business inspiration, subscribe before you go. Start Canada Podcast is produced by your host, Margot Miller, with audio and visual creation by EventPro and support from Due North Systems. Start Canada Podcast is powered by the Manitoba Technology Accelerator and Tech Manitoba and sponsored by Scotiabank.